Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens revealed humans are the universe's most dangerous predators. The Galactic Council had convened in a massive hall carved from gleaming translucent crystal. Representatives from dozens of species sat in tiers, their varied forms shimmering under the soft glow of luminescent plants. At the center, Grand Admiral Creek, a towering insectoid with a hard chitinous shell and razor-sharp mandibles, addressed the council with authority. "The humans are weak," he hissed, his voice reverberating through the chamber. "Their technology is primitive, their fleets are scattered. Now is the time to strike before they expand any further into our territories." A murmur rippled through the council as some nodded in agreement. The humans were a relatively new species, spreading faster than any race had seen before. Their ships were smaller, less advanced, and relied on outdated weaponry. But their determination was undeniable, and they had a reputation for being fiercely protective of their colonies. From the shadows at the back of the hall, a figure stirred, a slender being with iridescent skin and deep, dark eyes that seemed to hold the weight of countless lifetimes. Zeltek, the oldest member of the council, slowly moved forward, leaning on a staff crafted from the bones of a fallen tyrant beast. His voice was soft but filled with a chilling certainty. "You speak of attacking the humans as if they are prey, Creek, but have you truly understood what they are?" Creek scoffed, clicking his mandibles disdainfully. "They are barely evolved mammals, Zaltek. What threat could they possibly pose to the might of the collective?" Zeltek's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness. "You mistake resilience for weakness, Admiral. Do not let their lack of sophistication deceive you. I have encountered humans before during the siege of Arcadia." A heavy silence fell over the room, and even Creek hesitated. The siege of Arcadia was a legendary battle, one that had been buried under 100 years of shame and secrecy. Very few had survived to tell the tale. Zeltek continued, his voice dropping to a somber whisper. "Our forces descended on Arcadia in numbers too great to count. The human colony was small, a fledgling outpost with scarcely 200 soldiers. We thought victory was assured, and at first it was. We leveled their defenses, tore through their communication systems, and prepared to claim the planet. But that night," he paused, the memory seeming to weigh on him like a crushing stone. "That night they did not run, they did not surrender. They fought back, not like soldiers, but like beasts possessed by a fury I have never seen. They set fire to their own cities to draw us in, ambushed us in the burning ruins, used their own dying comrades as bait to catch us off guard. I saw humans charge directly into our energy cannons just to reach our gunners and tear them apart with their bare hands." Creek's mandibles clicked uncertainly. "But they fell, did they not? We claimed the world." Zeltek shook his head. "We claimed ashes. When dawn came, there was nothing left but rubble and silence. Not a single human remained alive because they fought until the last breath. Their message was clear. No matter the odds, they would rather die than kneel." One of the other council members, a shimmering aquatic being named Vera, spoke up hesitantly. "But that was only one colony. Surely the greater human worlds are more cautious." Zalt gave a bitter laugh. "You think Arcadia was an anomaly? I have heard whispers from the stars about how human fleets form shields of their own wrecked ships, how they fight even when hope is gone, as if surrender is a concept they refuse to grasp. Their generals burn their own worlds to keep them from falling into enemy hands. If we strike at Earth itself, do you truly believe they will bow? No. They will burn their entire solar system to dust before yielding to conquerors." A chill settled over the room. Creek's confidence wavered, but he snarled in defiance. "We have faced warriors before. The Zarian Horde, the Red Legion, they all fell. Humans will be no different." Zeltek fixed him with a look of such intensity that Creek instinctively took a step back. "You misunderstand. The Zarans sought power. The Red Legion fought for conquest. But humans, they fight not for victory but for survival. And when survival is at stake, they become relentless. They will hunt you to the edges of the universe. You may win a battle, Admiral, but you will never escape the wrath that follows." The council chamber remained deathly quiet. Creek, visibly shaken, glanced around at the uncertain faces of the other representatives. For the first time, doubt seeped into his mind. Zeltek gave a final warning. "Attack the humans if you wish. Just know that when you do, you will be unleashing a force that will never rest until every last one of us is obliterated. Do not mistake their kindness for weakness or their peace for fear. Once provoked, they will not stop, not ever." The council remained silent, each member processing the gravity of Zeltek's words. And in that quiet, Creek could almost feel the shadows of human rage looming on the horizon, silent, relentless, and inevitable. Days passed after the council meeting, but the debate continued to simmer. Creek's confidence had been rattled, but his ambition remained unbroken. He spent his time in the war chambers, surrounded by holographic projections of human territories, calculating strategies to minimize losses while securing maximum gain. His pride demanded action, but Zalk's warning lingered in the back of his mind like an echo that wouldn't fade. One evening, as he reviewed reports from intelligence probes near human colonies, Creek was interrupted by his second-in-command, Captain Jax, a lean, wiry creature with translucent wings that shimmered under the chamber lights. "Admiral," Jax rasped, his tone respectful yet cautious. "Our scouts have detected unusual activity near the Andromeda perimeter. Human ships, war-class destroyers, patrolling in tighter formations than usual." Creek straightened, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Preparing for a strike, perhaps, or sensing our intentions?" "It's unclear," Jex replied. "Their movements don't suggest offense. It's more like they're watching, waiting." Creek dismissed his concerns with a wave of his clawed hand. "They're paranoid. They must have caught wind of our deliberations. It doesn't change our plans." Jex hesitated, clearly unsettled. "Permission to speak freely, Admiral." Creek gave a short, begrudging nod. "What if Zeltek is right? I've analyzed human combat records from minor skirmishes. When cornered, they show a level of ferocity unmatched by most species. And Arcadia, it's more than just a ghost story. I've read the survivor logs. The brutality wasn't strategic. It was pure, unyielding survival. If we provoke them, we might face that same madness on a galactic scale." Creek's eyes narrowed, his pride bristling at the implied doubt. "Are you suggesting we abandon our plans out of fear?" Jex dipped his head submissively. "Not fear, Admiral, caution. We underestimate them at our peril." Creek lashed out, his claws scraping against the metallic surface of the strategy table. "Caution breeds stagnation. The collective thrives because we take risks. Humans are spreading like vermin, colonizing unclaimed worlds with reckless abandon. If we don't strike now, we risk being overwhelmed in the future." Jex remained silent, knowing better than to argue further. Creek's ambition would not be tamed by reason. The Admiral was determined to prove that the fear of humans was an old warrior's delusion, a relic of a failed conquest long past. "Send the command to the fleet," Creek ordered sharply. "We will commence our first strike at New Europa. It's a major colony with advanced facilities and strategic positioning. If we cripple their production capabilities there, Earth's defenses will weaken significantly." Jex acknowledged the order and moved to relay it, though his wings quivered with unease. Creek couldn't afford hesitation, not when his reputation hung on proving the humans were nothing more than animals wrapped in iron. As the collective's fleet mobilized, Zaltek watched from a distance, his ancient eyes fixed on the vast armada gathering above the capital world. He knew what was coming, and his spirit grew heavy with foreboding. Walking the winding corridors of the council complex, he encountered Vera, the aquatic diplomat who had been present during his warning. She looked at him with curious trepidation. "You think they will attack regardless," she stated, her voice like the whisper of flowing water. Zeltek nodded, leaning on his staff. "Pride is a poison that blinds the ambitious. Creek cannot stand the idea that a lesser species could instill such fear. He must prove himself superior, even if it means courting disaster." Vera considered his words. "What will happen when they strike? Will the humans truly retaliate with such wrath?" Zaltek closed his eyes, memories of Arcadia washing over him like a dark tide. "They will retaliate, yes, not with fear or despair, but with a single, unwavering purpose, to eradicate the threat entirely. I have witnessed it once, and that memory is etched into my soul. Creek thinks conquest will be swift. Instead, he will ignite a fire that will consume us all." As he spoke, the Armada began its journey, hundreds of warships vanishing into hyperspace, bound for New Europa. Vera could sense the dread thickening in the air. "Can they really win against our might?" she asked, almost hoping Zeltek would deny it. The old being sighed. "Victory is not a matter of strength alone. Humans are relentless because they fight for something we cannot understand, a soul-deep need to remain free. Even if freedom demands unthinkable sacrifices, they will turn every loss into fuel for vengeance, and they will pursue us to the ends of the stars." Vera shivered at the thought. Then Creek is dooming us. Zeltek didn't reply, his heart aching for the countless lives about to be snuffed out. He knew the collective was walking into a nightmare born not just of human wrath, but of their unbreakable will to survive. As the stars shimmered in the vastness of space, he could only pray that the lesson would not come too late. And so the fate of countless worlds hung on the precipice, waiting for the moment when fire and fury would engulf the galaxy. The journey to New Europa took mere hours through hyperspace corridors, and the collective's armada emerged from the rippling void like a swarm of shimmering insects, each ship bristling with weapons and armored plating. At the head of the formation, Creek stood on the command deck of the flagship Dominator, his multifaceted eyes scanning the holographic displays as data streamed in from scout drones. "Report," he barked, his mandibles clicking with a predatory eagerness. Jex, standing at a nearby console, read through the data with a tense expression. New Europa's planetary defenses are active, orbital platforms and ground-based missile arrays. Human fleet presence is minimal, only 3 war-class destroyers and a handful of support craft. Creek gave a satisfied hiss. Pathetic. Begin bombardment protocols, target their orbital defenses first. As the collective ships aligned, charging their plasma cannons and particle disruptors, Creek allowed himself a moment of triumph. New Europa was a key human colony. Taking it would cripple their production and shake their morale. It would be the first step toward breaking their spirit. "All batteries fire," Creek commanded. Lances of searing energy erupted from the collective warships, streaking through the void and hammering the orbital platforms. One by one, they exploded in brilliant fireballs, scattering debris into the atmosphere. The human warships responded, firing rail gun projectiles and guided missiles, but their attacks glanced off the reinforced shields of the collective vessels. Creek sneered at the pitiful resistance. "Jex, send the ground forces. Crush any remaining pockets of resistance and secure the planetary capital." "Yes, Admiral," Jex replied, though his tone was cautious. "But there's something strange." "What now?" Creek growled. Jex pointed to a readout displaying human communication frequencies. "They're broadcasting on all channels, open frequencies, encoded and unencoded. It's a distress signal, but not directed to any military command. It's broadcasting to civilian networks, local colonies, even deep space outposts." Creek scoffed. "Desperation. They're hopping for reinforcements that won't come. Ignore it." But as the message continued to loop, Creek's curiosity got the better of him. He gestured for Jex to play it through the command speakers. A human voice, calm and steady despite the chaos, filled the bridge. "This is Commander Elena Price of New Europa Defense Command. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. Civilians are advised to seek shelter in reinforced zones. To any human outposts or colonies receiving this message, do not respond. Maintain your defensive perimeters. Remember Arcadia, we will not surrender. We will not yield. New Europa stands." The transmission repeated, and Creek felt a flicker of irritation. Bold words for a doomed colony. "Jex, have the ground forces report as soon as they secure the capital." As Jex relayed the orders, Creek couldn't help but notice something unsettling about the transmission. The way the humans spoke, calm, unbroken, reminded him of Zaltek's warning. They fought for survival, not victory. He pushed the thought aside, unwilling to let doubt poison his triumph. Minutes passed, then hours. Reports trickled in from the surface. Heavy resistance, ambushes, guerrilla tactics. Collective soldiers found the human defenses fragmented but tenacious, often fighting from the ruins of their own homes or underground bunkers. An entire battalion had been wiped out by civilians wielding improvised explosives. Creek's frustration grew as the ground war bogged down, refusing to resolve as quickly as he'd expected. "Why are they resisting so fiercely?" Creek snarled. "Their defeat is inevitable." Jex's wings twitched nervously. "Perhaps they know something we don't. Their forces are deliberately drawing our units deeper into the city ruins. It's almost as if they're preparing for—" A sudden alert blared through the command deck, proximity sensors flashing red. Creek whirled toward the tactical map, his eyes widening as dozens of new contacts appeared at the system's edge. Ships. Human ships dropping out of hyperspace in tight, aggressive formations. Jex's voice was a mixture of shock and fear. "Admiral, it's the Earth Defense Fleet. 3 dreadnoughts and at least 50 support vessels. They've surrounded our perimeter." Creek's mandibles clicked furiously. How did they respond so fast? We jammed their signals. Jex looked pale, his wings trembling. The distress call, it wasn't a plea for help, it was bait. They knew we would attack New Europa, and they let us trap ourselves on the surface while they mobilized the fleet. Creek's mind raced, but the realization hit him like a blow. The humans had anticipated the attack, sacrificing the colony to draw his forces in and surround them. His pride had blinded him to the possibility, and now the hunters had become the hunted. "Retreat," Creek commanded, but even as he shouted the order, the human ships opened fire. Kinetic lances and plasma beams tore through the collective formation, and explosions blossomed across the void. Human fighters darted through the chaos, targeting engines and weapon systems with ruthless precision. The Dominator shook violently as a projectile slammed into its shields, sending sparks cascading from overloaded consoles. Creek gripped the railing, his arrogance crumbling into desperation. How could they plan this so flawlessly? He muttered, unable to comprehend how his superior fleet had been outmaneuvered. Jex stared at the carnage outside, his voice hollow. "You didn't listen to Zaltec. They don't fight like us. They don't fight for power or pride. They fight to survive. You cornered them, and now they're fighting like animals with nothing to lose." Creek's resolve shattered as he watched his mighty armada being torn apart piece by piece. The human dreadnoughts pressed their advantage, cutting off any chance of retreat. The Admiral knew he had made a fatal mistake, one that would be carved into the annals of history as the day the collective underestimated the wrath of humanity. And through it all, the transmission from New Europa continued to echo through the speakers, a calm and unwavering declaration of defiance. "We will not surrender. We will not yield. New Europa stands." Chaos engulfed the collective fleet as human warships pressed their advantage, hammering the disoriented aliens from all sides. Creek watched in disbelief as his armada, once the pride of the collective, shattered under the relentless human assault. His claws trembled as he gripped the railing, his mind racing for a way out. "Admiral, shields are down to 20%, Jex shouted over the blaring alarms. "Hull breaches reported on decks 3 and 4. Creek forced himself to think, but his thoughts were a tangled mess of rage and fear. "Redirect power to engines. Prepare for an emergency jump." Jex hesitated, his wings fluttering anxiously. "Admiral, the hyperspace matrix is compromised. We won't be able to." The ship lurched violently as another volley slammed into the hull, and the lights flickered before stabilizing. Creek's vision blurred as he steadied himself, glaring at the tactical display. Human dreadnoughts were closing in, their formations tight and unyielding. "How could they know?" Creek rasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "How could they have planned this trap?" Jex didn't answer, too focused on issuing damage control orders. The bridge crew moved with frantic precision, but it was clear that panic was starting to set in. Creek could feel it too, a gnawing dread that clawed at his insides. The collective had never faced an enemy like this, one that used its own brutality and resilience as weapons. "Admiral," Jex said suddenly, his tone urgent. "Incoming transmission from the human flagship." Creek hesitated, his pride battling with the fear in his gut. "Put it through." The viewscreen flickered, and the image of a human officer appeared. A woman in a dark uniform, her face calm and stern, with piercing eyes that seemed to look straight into Creek's soul. It was Commander Alina Price, the same voice from the distress call. "This is Commander Price of the EFS Resolute," she announced, her tone cold and unyielding. "Your fleet is surrounded and crippled. Surrender now or be annihilated." Creek bared his mandibles defiantly, unwilling to show weakness even now. "You are a primitive race, Commander. You may win this battle, but the collective will never yield to creatures like you." Price's expression remained impassive. "You made a mistake, Admiral. You thought we were weak because we value life and freedom. You didn't understand that those values make us fight harder than any conqueror. You cornered us, and now you'll face the consequences." Creek snarled, "We will never submit to your kind. We are superior." Before he could finish, Price cut him off with a slight smirk. "Superior? Your entire fleet is in ruins, your ground forces are scattered and leaderless. You underestimated humanity, Admiral. You thought our compassion made us soft. Instead, it made us relentless. This is your only chance to surrender." The transmission ended abruptly, and Creek felt a wave of helplessness crash over him. He turned to Jex, who looked pale and fearful. Status on ground forces. Jex hesitated, his mandibles clicking nervously. They've gone dark, Admiral. Human resistance on the surface has overwhelmed them. We lost contact an hour ago. Creek felt his confidence finally break. All his plans, his dreams of conquest, shattered by an enemy he had dismissed as inferior. He had led his fleet into a slaughterhouse, and there was no escape. His pride had blinded him, and now it was too late to turn back. Send the surrender signal, Creek croaked, his voice devoid of strength. We cannot fight this. Jex glanced at him with something resembling pity. Yes, Admiral. The signal went out, and the human fleet ceased fire, maintaining their blockade as shuttles moved in to secure the remains of the collective armada. Creek slumped into his command chair, numb with defeat. In his mind, he could still hear Zaltek's warning, the old warrior's grim prophecy about humanity's indomitable spirit. As silence settled over the bridge, Creek couldn't help but reflect on how he had dismissed the humans as primitive and weak. He had seen their fierce resistance as desperation rather than resolve. Now he understood. Humans didn't fight for conquest or glory. They fought because giving up was never an option. Just then, a soft chime signaled an incoming transmission from the Council. Creek forced himself upright, activating the link. The holographic figure of Grand Chancellor Vull appeared, an imposing figure with segmented armor and piercing yellow eyes. Creek, Vull hissed, his voice laced with anger. You have disgraced the collective. Your reckless assault has cost us the pride of our fleet. Explain yourself. Creek struggled to find words, but there was nothing he could say to justify his failure. I underestimated them, Chancellor. They fought like demons. They knew we were coming. They laid a trap. They turned our strength against us. Vull's glare was icy. You ignored Zeltek's counsel. You failed to comprehend the nature of your enemy. Your arrogance has doomed us all. The transmission cut off, leaving Creek to face the bitter reality of his defeat. He looked at Jex, who had remained silent, his expression conflicted. They'll never let us go, will they? Creek murmured, almost as if speaking to himself. Jex hesitated, his wings folding back in resignation. No, Admiral. Once provoked, they will hunt us to the ends of the galaxy. You showed them our weakness, and they will never forget. Creek lowered his head, the weight of his failure pressing down like a crushing tide. He had unleashed a force beyond his understanding, an indomitable will to survive that no conqueror could break. As the human shuttles approached, Creek could only wonder how many more worlds would burn before the collective finally learned the lesson that had cost him everything. As Creek sat in the ruined command chair of the Dominator, his mind spiraled into dark contemplation. The humans had subdued his fleet, captured his flagship, and now held him prisoner on his own bridge. He could feel the hum of human transport shuttles docking, the clang of magnetic locks securing their grip on the ship. Collective warriors were being herded like livestock, stripped of their weapons and pride. Jex stood silently at the comms console, his wings drooping with defeat. Creek couldn't muster the energy to berate him or anyone else. His failure was absolute, and he could no longer hide behind arrogance or excuses. The bridge door slid open with a sharp hiss, and Commander Alina Price entered, flanked by two heavily armed soldiers in sleek combat armor. Her expression was calm but calculating, her eyes sweeping the room with a practiced air of authority. Creek forced himself to sit up straighter, trying to salvage some remnant of dignity. So, Price began, her tone neutral. You're the infamous Admiral Creek, the one who thought humanity would kneel at his feet. Creek glared at her, his mandibles clicking. You caught us by surprise, a dishonorable tactic. Price arched an eyebrow. Surprise? You announced your intentions the moment you wiped out Arcadia. You didn't think we would remember, plan, adapt. Humanity isn't like your past conquests. You tried to crush us once, and we swore it would never happen again. Creek's pride flickered to life, pushing back his despair. You speak as if your kind is invincible. We will regroup, and when we return, your worlds will burn. Price didn't flinch. Instead, she gave a cold, almost pitying smile. Return? You still don't get it, do you? There's no coming back from this. Your fleet is destroyed. Your ground forces are wiped out. Every attempt to send reinforcements was intercepted and obliterated. The collective underestimated us once, and it cost you dearly. But this time, she leaned closer, her gaze piercing, this time we're coming for you. Creek's heart pounded with a fear unlike any he had known. You would dare invade our territories. Price straightened, crossing her arms. We're done waiting for you to pick us off one colony at a time.